Imagine Luxembourg in a world where Germany had won the Second World War. Luxembourg, tiny but rich, would not simply be annexed. No, Berlin would see it as the perfect place to experiment. In this alternate timeline, the whole country would be turned into the Reich's miniature model state. Think of it as a living diorama, small enough to control completely, but just big enough to show off. The capital city would be rebuilt as a giant showroom. Streets lined with identical houses painted in official shades of gray, every window displaying propaganda posters instead of curtains. Locals would be forced to keep their homes spotless because Berlin would send tourists to marvel at the perfect German town. Imagine entire busloads of visitors from Berlin strolling through Luxembourg, taking notes on how tidy the flower pots looked. Language, one of Luxembourg's proudest features, would be completely outlawed. Luxembourgish, French, and German? Too messy. Instead, the Reich would invent a new simplified dialect called Luxodeutsch, with only 500 approved words. A local baker might greet customers with the same phrase every time: Heil, Brot, Bit, Danke. Communication would become so limited that entire conversations would sound like a strange parody of real speech. Cuisine would also be transformed. Traditional Luxembourgish dishes, like Jud Mat Garbunen, would survive, but only in perfectly portioned rations. Restaurants would serve meals on identical steel trays, each being lined up in a row. And the national pride in chocolate and pastries? Rebranded as Reich snacks, exported entirely to Berlin. Locals would be left with dry sauerkraut biscuits, praised as efficient nutrition. Banking, the true power of Luxembourg, would also change. In this alternate reality, the entire country would be nothing more than the Reich's piggy bank. Vaults filled with gold would be guarded by German soldiers, and ordinary citizens would pay for groceries with coupons stamped with Berlin's approval. Instead of being a global financial hub, Luxembourg would become a single giant safe, watched day and night. And then there are the absurd details. Public transportation would be free, but only because every bus and train followed a single mandatory route, circling the city endlessly like a toy train set. The country's famous castles, normally romantic and picturesque, would be turned into bizarre amusement rides where tourists could sit in tanks and drive around the courtyards. Even the National Day celebration would be standardized. Every year, on June 23rd, the entire population would gather in the main square to sing the same two songs on repeat for 6 hours straight. Looking at Luxembourg today in this alternate timeline, it would not be a proud little nation balancing languages, cultures, and traditions. Instead, it would be a surreal miniature kingdom, a toy state turned into a propaganda park, a land of robot-like conversations, bean-counted meals, endless buses on loops, and castles turned into tank rides. The Luxembourg we know would be gone, replaced by the Reich's strangest and smallest experiment.